Welcome, everyone. Today we're talking about eating your emotions. And I think this is something all humans do to a certain extent. And I think sometimes we don't notice how much we're doing it because it works really well. I'm here with Rick Wilkes, who's been one of the guiding people to help me understand more about how that connection goes. And I'm Kathy Bertilli from the Intimacy Dojo. And I'm excited that you're here.
Yeah, me too. Welcome, everyone. There's the earliest memory I have of my firstborn, my son Jimmy, was the look on his face. He looked like tortured, like he had just been through something, and he had just gone through a cesarean section, which is a pretty scary moment for all of us. And it was an emergency C-section. And I remember the look on his face as soon as the milk hit his tongue. Sweet, creamy, love. His whole body started rippling with the relaxation. His color changed. So, we start life with powerful associations between food and mood change.
Mhm.
Our body reacts. It becomes sometimes hungry and angry. It's sometimes, and food is medicine. Food is comfort. Food is required. There's a lot around that. And today we're going to be exploring something that where we eat as a reaction to emotions.
Mhm.
And the reaction part of it is where I just went through the Krispy Kreme drive-through and I have a dozen warm glazed donuts sitting
And
next
they're
to
going
me.
in my mouth as I speak.
I've already eaten four of them. How did I get here? Or where we've worked with people and felt it in ourselves at times, like, I bought a whole pint of Haagen-Dazs strawberry and I really thought that it would last me for a few days, and I am down to the last spoonful.
And I haven't put the groceries away yet.
What? What's up with that? This is a little different than the approach to it. It includes the approach to cravings a bit, but we're going to go deeper here today. And
I
Kath, go ahead.
yeah, I think that a lot of people do tapping. Like I've had people tell me, well, if you want to lose weight, I'll help you hate chocolate. And I'm like, no interest at all. I want to enjoy all the foods, but I want to have a not a reaction to my life and consume food. I want to make a response to my life. Like I do better when I'm doing lower carbs. And there's days when I had a friend commit suicide a few days ago, and I was like, you know what? I am going to responsibly choose to have some extra carbs today because I know it will soothe me. So when we're choosing, that's very different than that reaction where we're just knee jerk. There's no pause. There's no gap between the input and the action we take. Food is incredibly powerful. It signals to us that we're safe and we have abundance. So there's two main threats we have when we're worried about survival. I mean, we have a bear could be about to eat us, and we're trying to get away from a physical threat. Um, and you're not going to stop and have some nice, warm, yummy chocolate cake or some nice cold ice cream while that bear is chasing you. It's a direct primitive brain feedback to the most ancient parts of our brain that we are literally safe. The other big fear is that we're going to starve. There's not enough to eat. There's not enough resources. Or that my tribe has excommunicated me, so I'm not going to get those resources.
Mhm.
When we're eating, we're actively putting food in our mouths. We are signaling to our brain there is enough. We must be enough part of the community, and there must be enough abundance that I'm getting the resources I need right now. And that's why I think a lot of people that have trauma backgrounds learned really early to turn to food because it directly soothes that. And I think the more trauma we have, sometimes the more frequently we have to put food in our mouth to constantly tell our brain, we're safe, we're safe, we're safe now, we're safe now. Because we're so used to having that trauma response. It's been kind of ingrained in our body. And I worked a lot on this. I had I turned to food for eating ever since I was 5. I remember very consciously being aware of it at 5. My body hurt from some abuse the day before, and I needed to get out of bed. I just knew that if I didn't get out of bed, that I was just going to give up. And I was 5, and I remembered there were Cocoa Puffs in the kitchen. And I needed something to help me get out of bed and face another day. And that's what I used as a crutch to help me, like, okay, there's one good thing I can count on. Kids don't have access generally to drugs or alcohol or other resources to kind of numb out feelings for things they can't deal with. And food actually does influence our serotonin and dopamine levels. It changes our mood. So as kids, we were super smart to turn to that. We didn't have these resources. But now we have ways to tap and clear things out so that we don't have to keep going back to food to soothe our brain. We can actually soothe it directly. And then we can choose at times to use food and say, hey, I'm choosing today to treat myself or to soothe myself with this, but I'm not going to do it all the time, every time. I'm going to make sure I have other resources. Does that make sense?
It does. It means building out your menu.
Yeah.
And you said a couple of things here that I think would be great for us as we get into moving energy and tapping. Like there's usually when we're using food to give us that safe with every bite, I'm safe, and getting that reinforcement with every bite, what I've noticed is that oftentimes people have an accusation or a self-hate or something that comes with it.
Yeah.
That's a reactive thing. And I believe that the response, like if you take a bite of something and you are consciously aware that you're taking this in for the sense of safety, to soothe your system and to dampen emotions that are just too much in that moment, that helps us go from the reaction into response. It helps us go from that knee-jerk eating to conscious eating. And I noticed immediately years ago when I took this approach was that I still use food, cake, ice cream as medicine at times, but I have found foods that don't trigger like that rev your engine and keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like I'm caring for myself.
Well, I think that's, someone said, like, when people are constantly eating and society tells us it's really bad, we don't have control and we absorb that. And if a parent was an emotional eater, we had that role model where there's like, I need to eat to stay sane, it feels like in the moment. And I also am blaming myself for eating. I'm actually almost getting traumatized by the thing that is supposed to help me. That self-hate and self-blame, it kind of is a feedback cycle. Whereas you're doing it like, hey, and this week I was like, no, I'm going to make a conscious choice to give myself this drug because I need soothing right now, and I'm choosing it not forever, but in an intense, acute moment that I felt like it was the right thing to do.
Let's begin the tapping process.
Yeah.
And if you're not familiar with tapping, thrivingnow.com/tapping is a place you can get a free guide. You can kind of follow along with watching where we are tapping. And Kathy's going to step us through step by step.
Yeah. So we always like to start by taking a nice, slow, deep breath. Doing that is also a biofeedback loop to your brain, your primitive brain. If a bear was chasing you, you would not take a nice, slow, deep breath. When we exhale, if you make a little noise, that also vibrates the vagus nerve, which goes down from the primitive brain all the way through, down along your spine. We, again, if a bear is chasing us, we're not taking slow, deep breaths and vibrating that nerve. So we're literally giving ourselves, it's like giving your brain a little piece of chocolate, saying, hey, we're safe right now. Yeah. So we always start that way. So, and we're going to start by tapping on the karate chop point, which is where you would karate chop the side of the table. And you do it gently, kind of like if you're drumming your fingers on the table. You don't want it to hurt, but you want to notice it gently. And we're going to start by just going, sometimes I do overeat.
Even though sometimes I do overeat.
And I eat because of emotions.
And I eat because of emotions sometimes.
Maybe that was really smart back then.
Maybe that was really smart back then.
And sometimes it's really smart right now.
And sometimes it is really smart right now.
I am so grateful I figured out that worked.
I'm so grateful I have figured out that it works.
And I want other resources too.
And I want other resources too.
Top of the head, it feels very reactive to me.
It feels really reactive to me sometimes.
Eyebrow, I just feel this pain and I want to eat.
I feel this pain and I want to eat. Yeah, that nails it.
Side of the eye. My brain doesn't even kick in. It's just an automatic reaction.
My brain doesn't even kick in. It's just an automatic reaction.
Under the eye. And I give my brain permission to consider these things.
And I give my brain permission to consider these things.
Under the nose. What if I tapped for 30 seconds first?
What if I tap for 30 seconds first?
Chin. What if I just let myself breathe for a minute?
What if I just let myself breathe for a minute?
Collarbone. It isn't that I can't choose to eat.
It is not that I cannot choose to eat.
Under the arm. It's just that I'd like to make that a choice.
I'd like to make that a choice.
Top of the head. And that might feel really good.
And that might feel a lot better.
Yeah. Nice deep breath. That compulsive feeling can make you feel so out of control. I know with myself that it would be a sign to me that I wasn't capable of controlling myself. I just felt out of control around it. And the truth was I was in a lot of pain and I had learned to numb it out with food. So it was kind of like that fish in water where you don't even notice the water after a while. The pain had been there so constantly that I wasn't even consciously aware of it anymore. And it was still causing me distress. So I would just reach for food. And I couldn't figure out why I couldn't stop with the food. And it attacked my self-esteem. The cure was also causing the problem in a way. I didn't feel good about myself because I didn't feel like I could control my actions in any way.
So we've been asked, and it was good timing. What would you say during the 1 minute tapping before you let yourself start eating? And this is where, if we're eating our emotions, either before we start eating, or maybe after we're already satiated, I will say that sometimes we're still in reaction. And if you're reacting, that knee jerk, and then you eat, right after, now you've got a little relief, you can look at, well, what was the emotion that I was eating? And whether before or after, if you look at the woman with the fries, like,
Yeah.
give it your label. Maybe it's frustration, maybe it's rage, maybe it's like fed up. I'm fed up, so I'm going to feed myself. Whatever it is, and then see if you can notice where it's signaling from your body. Like, I'm looking around at something I'm sort of frustrated with. I'm trying to put a new portable air conditioner in my window in my office because I like things a lot colder than the family. And so I'm frustrated as I look at it. There's a part of me that wants to take this Trader Joe's dark chocolate peanut butter, which I can actually only eat 2 of, whereas Reese's, if I buy a 4-pack, gone. Chocolate and peanut butter, I just said this is an example of where this works. It's an upgrade over Reese's because it doesn't like hit me with all that childhood stuff. I used to use Reese's when I went to my dad's house every other weekend, which was an unsafe place for me. And Reese's, I would spend my entire allowance on Reese's and they would all be gone pretty quickly. Tap, tap, tap.
It's interesting because you sharing it, like I don't have a lot of compassion for myself all the time, but I think of you as this little kid saving your allowance to get the medication that you need and then carefully parsing it out. You shared before that you like would try to make sure that you had enough to get through the visit. And that's like oh my God, that's so sad that there were no other resources. Like your parents couldn't help you deal with it. They probably didn't know how to deal with it themselves.
Yeah.
But you know, most kids are like would want to save for something more fun. But humans
Hmm.
do like we do what we can to get through these things. So I just had a lot of compassion for that little you being so smart and figuring out that that would work.
Yeah. So thank you, Kathy. I have compassion for little Ricky too, which helps. And if we don't, then that's another subject, and we can help you with that as well. But here we're talking about we're let's use it as I'm about to eat this frustration. Okay. And like the frustration, I feel it in my jaw. And you can take something that's in your world right now
Yeah.
that you find yourself eating and just notice. Sometimes the sensation comes first, like, my jaw feels so, and then you might give it an emotional label. You don't have to. And you can start at the karate chop, or this is what I just go to the eyebrow, this frustration.
This frustration.
I'm about to eat it.
I'm about to eat it.
So, yeah, this frustration
This
in
frustration
my jaw,
in my jaw.
this frustration in my jaw.
This frustration in my jaw.
Onto the nose, this frustration in my jaw.
This frustration in my jaw.
And it's all around me.
It's all around me.
Come on. And I know just what to do.
I know just what to do.
I know just how to medicate this frustration.
I know just how to medicate this frustration.
Top of the head. And I'm grateful for having an option.
And I'm grateful for having an option.
Are there any others that attract me?
Are there any others that attract me?
So, empowering questions. We're not going to ask them if we're really in reaction. But as you're making this transition from reaction to response, guess what? You'll be able to have a question like, what else might be satisfying? If you put that on a card, like if your bag of chips had a card on it that said, what else might be satisfying too? It's not saying turn away, go away, this is not going to work for you. It's saying, is there anything else on the menu? And, I've had people write out a few other things on the menu, like, does it look nice outside?
Well, I think that it's hard at first because we do get deeply anchored because there's that really solid feedback loop directly to our brain with food. My aunt tells a story about her. When my cousin was like 2, was teething really badly, and they tried all the regular stuff, it didn't work. So she got a little whiskey on her finger and just rubbed it on his gums because it numbed it out. And she said the second time she did it, she did it twice, and it worked really well. And he slapped, and they were all relieved. And then he stubbed his toe, and he ran to the liquor cabinet, and they were like, "Oh my God, we're so geared for that immediate relief if we can get it." They had to stop doing that because they're like conditioning him that alcohol makes everything better.
Yeah.
At 2. But I think that we have that really strong pull for that. And a walk outside to me would be like, yeah, I can poke my eyes too, but give me that piece of chocolate.
Yeah.
And one thing I had to do, I had someone that I really respect I was talking to them about the fact that I was not feeling, I'd done a lot of work, tapping, cleared a lot of trauma, and I still had nights where it was really hard to not eat more than I wanted. And he said, "It seems like you're eating your anger." And I was like, "I'm not angry." But he said it in a way that it just kind of landed. I realized I was angry. I was really angry at a lot of things. And sometimes just being with that emotion, like instead of asking myself, like, I love what you say, as you get further, like get more resilient around it, what else can I do is brilliant and very useful. But for me, I had to start with just, I'm going to be an adult and I'm going to feel this emotion, even if it's for 30 seconds first. And then if I can't, if my muscles aren't strong enough yet, I'm going to at least try to lift the weight and build up the muscles a little bit to feel this emotion. And then I can consider what I'm going to do after that. It may be eat, it might be reach out to a friend, but I had to be with the emotion. So it's challenging to step out of that childhood reaction, like, oh my God, I've got to get relief immediately, to like, wow, I'm an adult. This feels awful. I'm scared of feeling this emotion. And I like, Rick, what you said about getting in your body. Where are you feeling it and what are you feeling it? Because I tend to live in my head. Even my descriptions of what I'm feeling in my body are very, someone called them very poetic. And like, I'm trying to, he's like, no, get really basic, like burning, hot, tense, like, because when we get really poetic, we're back up in our heads. We're trying not to experience what we're actually feeling. So I think sometimes just tapping on, like, I'm feeling this burning in my chest.
I'm feeling this burning in my chest.
Top of the head, this burning in my chest.
This burning in my chest.
I don't feel safe with this emotion.
I don't feel safe with this emotion.
Side of the eye. And actually, it's just a burning in my chest.
And actually, it's just a burning in my chest.
Under the eye, I can be with this for 20 more seconds.
I can be with this for 20 more seconds.
Under the nose, I can breathe with this for 20 more seconds.
I can breathe with this for 20 more seconds.
Shannon, then I'll make a choice on what's right for me.
And then I'll make a choice about what's right for me.
Collarbone, I choose to be with the sensation.
I choose to be with this sensation.
Under the arm, I'm building up my muscles.
I'm building up my muscles.
Top of the head, and I will be an adult about this.
And I will be an adult about this.
Take a nice deep breath.
Wah.
Well, I think that some people think of as adult as you've got to always be perfect and rigid and you can't ever play, and that's not what I mean. But I realized, one of the reasons I was excited about this call is I realized I was not being an adult about how I was taking care of my body. My finances are in good shape. My house is well taken care of. My job is well taken care of. But I wasn't getting much movement, and I wasn't putting nurturing food in my body on a regular basis. I would skip lunch because I was busy, and then I'd be so hungry that I'd eat a bunch of junk food. And I realized I was not being an adult, as in I choose to take responsibility and nurture myself, not as another burden to put on, but that I'm stepping up for myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you've often reminded all of us that when we were children, our playing field of resources and our nervous system and our brain and our body and our endocrine system were not in the same place as we can be now.
Yeah.
And so you're not saying that someone has to sit there and feel their anger for a week.
Not at all.
It's you noticed and someone reflected to you that it seems like you're eating your anger. And if we have an awareness, like and you can go through a list of emotions, and usually the one that you're eating that you really are like, no, I'm not doing that.
No, I don't feel that emotion. I'm never angry.
Yeah, your eyes will skip over it, or it'll be like, whoa, yeah, that's the one. For me, overwhelm was always and remains the thing that if I expand out into overwhelm, now I'm more likely to be in reaction around that. And to want to be.
We learn we're powerless over it as a child, that it's too much or that we have to avoid it. Or that it's not safe.
If would you walk us through just being, let's each tune into for a second. What I'd like is you've been doing this, you've been practicing this. Mm-hmm. How do you sit with your anger, even if you're not tapping? Say you're feeling it someplace where you don't have a break to tap. How do you, if you could step us through tuning us into a feeling that an emotion we eat, and then letting us be with that.
So what I'm doing, what I've found is useful for me is just noticing it. And I'm kind of tapping in the anger to fuel myself. Anger is very powerful. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean I need to go around hitting people or calling people bad names. It's actually just a sensation and an energy in our body. And so I imagine that I'm tapping into that energy to help me say no to the old reaction. And again, that doesn't mean I can't sometimes use food for it. My thing was I was using food to bury it every day. And every day I would say, tomorrow it will be different. and it was never different because I was never feeling the things. So if I'm in a place where I can't necessarily do tapping, or like I'm in a social situation where I just want to dive into the cheesecake because I'm feeling a lot of either overwhelm or frustration or anger or sadness, I try to tap into that emotion and just feel it. If I can just breathe and feel the sensations, not trying to change them, but just notice, like, how do I know I'm sad? I know why I'm sad, but like, okay, my heart feels kind of tense and achy. My stomach feels like it's got butterflies in it, and my eyes feel very heavy and they want to cry. So, okay, I'm just going to be with those. So, whatever feelings you have in your body, and try to be as basic as you can, not flowery, not poetic, just like if you think of that emotion, what are you feeling? How do you know in your body that you're feeling that emotion? And just be with it, not trying to change it, just be with that feeling and just kind of put your arms around it like, hey, I'm here. And when we don't try to change it, it often changes relatively quickly already for us. And I find that when I tap into those emotions, part of the power of the reaction comes from the belief that I can't handle them. Because I think most of us learned when we were very little that we couldn't handle them, that they were too much for us. And they were then. That wasn't an inaccurate description at the time. Little kids don't have a prefrontal cortex. They don't have their own homes. They don't have resources or experiences to deal with it. But when we actually can be with the emotion and the sensations, and I like doing some work with radical honesty people, and they're talking about like, okay, so you feel a heavy burning sensation in your body. That's just a sensation. Can you be with that? Like, it's not necessarily that's scary when you break it down that way. Okay, so it's not fun to have a heavy burning sensation, but I can be with that for 30 seconds. It's not actually damaging me. Versus, I think our primitive brain has been conditioned that anger or sadness or loneliness is a sign that we might die. And then when we feel it, we want to run away, and we use food to numb out.
So maybe we can take a moment and let that settle in. And even just notice how we're feeling in our body, being here, engaging around this subject.
And I do think being in the present moment with our emotions is incredibly powerful. And when we're around people where we can share that and get support, sometimes that's really good. I love when I can be with Rick because I can tell him, hey, I'm just noticing I feel really sad. Can I just be sad? Can you just hold space while I'm sad for a minute? And unless he's in the middle of something, he'll say sure. And often when we just are with it, not trying to change it, not trying to judge it, maybe doing a little tapping to help soothe things, it moves through quite quickly.
And, as someone mentioned about being attached to an emotion, if we have a rock in our shoe, we're not necessarily attached to the rock in our shoe. Mm-hmm. If we don't know to take off our shoe, or we're trying to ignore it, it'll keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back. There are things that we can be attached to. But in this case, it isn't always the picture. It isn't always about acceptance. Like Kathy said, anger is an energy. It's a signal. Sometimes it's a signal of hurt. And sometimes it's the energy that allows us to set a boundary. If we eat it, well, then it's not there to help us transform. Mm-hmm. And so there's a quality of acceptance, a quality of curiosity, like how might this serve me too? And there can be pain. And I'd like to just quickly tap on the pain aspect of this. Does that feel right to you?
Yeah, that feels great.
Eyebrow. There's a pain to some emotions.
There's a pain to some emotions.
Side of the eye. Is a pain to some emotions.
There is a pain to some emotions.
Under the eye. Even joy.
Even joy
can have pain.
can have pain.
And I'm adult enough to be with this,
And I am an adult enough to be with this.
Jen. I am adult enough to be with these sensations.
I'm adult enough to be with these sensations.
Call on present with the sensations.
Present with the sensations.
Present with the sensations.
Present with the sensations.
And I'm open to that being my response to the sensations.
I'm open to that being my response to the sensations.
To bring up my presence.
Bring up my presence.
If I have a physical pain that's been around for a while, the body naturally tries to push it away, avoid it. If we have an emotional pain in our body, the body naturally will try to disconnect, dissociate, wants to dampen it down. And makes a lot of sense as a reaction, a default reaction. Part of emotional freedom to me is that we take things that are reactive for us and we create new possibilities. And that's what we're doing here. I think tapping is really good. This pain, it feels too much. Is it really? It feels too much. It always was too much.
Yeah, and I think that what can be overwhelming, and I use the analogy of weights a lot because it's something that we can physically touch. But if we asked a 3-year-old to lift a 100-pound weight, we like, the little kid's like, I can't do that. That would really hurt me. And we're like, yeah, that would. You shouldn't do that. But an adult who's been training a little bit could go over if they needed to lift a 100-pound weight, or they might say, hey, Rick, I need to move this 100-pound box. Are you willing to help me? We each get 50 pounds. Like, then it's not so hard. But little kids don't have that. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to be swamped and buried by this. And we're often, for many of us, we had role models of parents that were to, like, my parents avoided, my family avoids a lot of emotions with food. It's just a thing my family does. So I had a lot of role models of, okay, you're feeling things, nobody knows how to deal with them, so put this in your mouth and shut up. And
Yeah.
I think it will come out sideways. Like I tend to direct the anger towards myself if I'm not allowing myself just to feel it. And that's not good because then I need to eat more because I'm feeling hurt on top of angry. If that makes sense.
It does. Jean asks, why does joy have pain? Well, it doesn't have it for everyone, but joy is an intense energy. And some people's nervous system is so already loaded that something that feels intense, like joy or ecstasy, can cause physical pain. There's also, for some people, really powerful associations between feeling joy and that trauma is going to follow. And
it's going to end somehow.
It's going to end, that the disappointment and also like the shock. I mean, how many of us were doing something that felt good when suddenly something happened to us? That, for some people, creates an association. If I feel that good, it's going to be really bad. And that's that constant feeling of premonition anytime we feel happy that it's going to end, that something's going to happen. That's where, people moderate their joy, just like they moderate their pain. So, yeah.
Well, I think we tend to attract people that are pretty energetically sensitive, emotionally sensitive people. Like, we're not numb to the world. And I know that if I eat a lot of carbs, I don't pick up on other people's stuff so much. It's almost like I'm piling enough on that it kind of dampens it down. Mm-hmm. And while that worked really well, it's also not how I want to walk through the world. And I love using what you talk about, Rick, is like, just ask the universe to attract your attention to that which you should deal with and let the rest go. Mm-hmm.
So dampening is a word that I think when we eat our emotions, we're dampening a feeling. So I'd like to do a tapping
Yeah.
on the dampening.
Yeah.
Okay. Karate chop. Even though certain foods dampen uncomfortable emotions.
Even though certain foods dampen uncomfortable emotions.
And I figured that out a long time ago.
I figured that out a long time ago.
I accept my wisdom.
I accept my wisdom.
And I'm wanting it to be a choice.
And I'm wanting it to be a choice.
Top of the head. Certain foods dampen emotions.
Certain foods dampen emotions.
Eyebrow. Carbs dampen anger.
Carbs dampen anger.
Side of the eye. Carbs dampen overwhelm.
Carbs dampen overwhelm.
Under the eye. Carbs dampen
Carbs dampen
when they're used as medicine.
when they're used as medicine. Sugar gives that really big bump.
What?
And sugar gives that bump if you're feeling sad.
Yeah. It dampens and it activates.
And it activates.
And I'm learning about myself.
And I'm learning about myself.
I want emotional freedom.
I want emotional freedom.
Under the arm. And food is amazing.
Food is amazing.
And it's not the only thing.
And it's not the only thing. Good.
So,
go ahead.
Just one thing that arises here. So we become aware that we're doing this. If either before, during, or after you become aware of what the emotion was that you're choosing to eat, or you're reacting and you're eating. I think for most of us, there's a pattern. And that can change. I know, Kathy, you've done a lot of work on anxiety and social anxiety and other things, and the eating that you were doing around that shifted. And then there's layers of, like, anger is one of the core, like in our core, it's not well modeled how anyone copes with their anger. It feels threatening, internal and external. It's like, So sometimes there'll be a life change, like in a different part of our life, we've got certain things together, and a new emotion will be what triggers. And it triggers the reaction. Oh, I know what to do. I know what I can do to make this better. If you're seeing that anger is doing that, anger would be what I would spend 20 minutes tapping on when I'd already either medicated with food or something else, or I wasn't feeling that hunger. I might even, sometimes put, like, I noticed one day that instead of one or two of these being more than enough for my system, I ate 6. Mm. The next day I said, what in the fuck was going on? Because that was out of character. Mm. And it was uncertainty. It was like, oh man. I hadn't really tapped on that one for a while. Uncertainty and everything, like where I'm going to live, what's happening. There was so much uncertainty that, boom, all of a sudden it's back. Mm-hmm. And that's where I went into other practices, not when I was so activated into uncertainty that these were like needed to happen. I did that in the morning after my meditation. I looked at uncertainty. Oh, right here. Oh, yeah, this uncertainty reaction right here. And that helped build up the muscle and the resiliency so that I was now up to speed more in handling the uncertainty. Yeah. It also gave me that, am I feeling uncertain? Like if you start heading toward your eating your emotions, once you've got an idea, like now anger is alive for you in this, you can say, am I angry? Am I denying I'm angry? You have an entry point, a
Yeah.
touchstone, rather than the whole universe of possible emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where you can also do some prophylactic or advanced tapping. Like
Pre-tapping.
even though this is likely, even though putting this air conditioner, and I didn't, shoulda, coulda, see that I'm shitting on myself. If I had pre-tapped about, oh, this is likely to be frustrating and imperfect,
Mm-hmm.
and not be exactly what I want. If I had done that, it would have given me more resilience. Now I held off and used some willpower to not eat immediately.
Well, and we can
And
use willpower, but we only have so much willpower every day, and we can run through it at work or around food, and then we're like out, and we're like, so willpower is a useful thing. We can choose that.
yes, absolutely.
But if we're fighting our primitive brain, our fears, our responses and reactions, we're going to get worn out really quickly. And then just after breakfast, we're eating all the Hershey Kisses or whatever, and trying to find relief. And we're like, I have no willpower. No, you did. You do have willpower. You just used it all up.
Yeah.
And I think that there is like sugars and chocolates and things like that can seem like I kind of think of like I've done that for doing bills or something I didn't want to do. I'd get a little pile of like little treats. Like, okay, I did that one, I have a treat. Kind of like feeding a gerbil treats. And it did get me through. Sugars and things like that will often give us a reward sensation and like kind of like a response of I, when we're feeling overwhelmed or if we're feeling sad or lonely or not connected to the world. But the problem is it's artificial. And so if our life is really not working, there's things we need to do to change it. Feeding ourselves either peanut M&Ms or Hershey Kisses or whatever, it can get us through something tough sometimes. And we're not addressing some underlying issues. We're not saying, hey, I'm lonely. I need to actually change things in my life. So I hang out with people more often.
Yeah.
Or this is really hard. I would like to figure out a way I'm going to tap so it doesn't seem so overwhelming in the future that I need to have a pile of peanut M&Ms and eat till I'm nauseated.
Mm-hmm. So what questions do you all have? There's a chat. You're welcome to ask questions of us. If there's a particular tapping you'd like us to do, please feel free. What else? What else on this subject? I know that you and I have we've talked about being reactive to feelings and emotions, and that can really make it impossible because when we're in reaction, we're not in conscious, mindful well-being. And the adult response frame, that's the, hey, I can lift a lot more than I could when I was 4 years old physically. What about emotions? Can I be with this? Can I get some help on the ones like that are too big and heavy? But can I be with this? Can I be present with it? As soon as you show yourself that you can be with an emotion, mm-hmm. you naturally move. Your body doesn't want to be in reaction. Reaction is very expensive. It requires your adrenals to kick in. It requires it's a strain on your nervous system in the same way that, the reaction, if you think about like suddenly hearing a car backfire and you thought it was a gun, there's a startle response. Reactions of all kinds are like that, whether hidden or not. You get a burst of something in your system that is designed to evoke the reaction, the reaction to eat.
Well, you're literally
hard on your system.
Saying we're in danger. We must do this to keep ourselves safe, and that's maybe a small trauma response. We're sending the same chemicals through our body. It's hard on our body to be constantly in trauma response.
It is, and this is, and Angela noted that I was able to successfully tap on my craving for candy and chocolate and have not had any for over 2 years. I do, however, still use muffins and flour products. And this is like when we look at the body eating our emotions, we can use tapping for cravings, and that can help get us off of something that is really hard on our system. Mm-hmm. And unless we complete out more of the menu, it will go someplace else. It's like at the Alcoholic Anonymous, they have
Everybody's
cigarettes
smoking and
and
eating
and
donuts.
and donuts and coffee. Why? Well, because we still needed to eat our emotions, and it transferred to something else. So we want to honor that there are people and approaches that address the cravings for particular chips or candy or something. Great. Include in that, what's the emotion that I'm actually eating?
Yeah.
What's the emotional state that triggered a craving, a reaction that we call a craving? And
I think there's
go
sometimes we're
ahead.
not even aware, like Christina's question about like a lot of times we're numbed out. And so it's never going through our conscious, like we have a sensation or emotion. It's not going to our conscious brain and saying, hey, I'm having this anger. It's going directly to our survival brain. It's like danger, we have to jump. Like if we see a snake, most people, even if you're walking and you see a stick, a lot of people will jump. It's our brain, it's not going to our cognitive brain first, it's going to our survival brain first. And then if there's time and space, it will go to our cognitive brain and we're like, oh, that's just a stick, or that's a non-poisonous snake, or that's a poisonous snake and I should run. But we've already jumped back. And I think with food, for a lot of us, we're just automatically like, we have an emotion that we don't want to feel, and we're signaling our primitive brain that there's a danger. And so we're kind of numb to the emotions. What I don't consider myself an angry person, but there are pockets of anger that I haven't got to express. So I'd love to do a little tapping on if we feel numb.
Yeah, that sounds good. And then we have some other questions.
Yeah, I see them. They're great. I love them. So nice deep breath.
Oof.
Karate chop. Even though I'm not feeling these emotions,
Even though I'm not feeling these emotions,
some part of me is.
some part of me is.
I have just numbed it out,
I have just numbed it out,
and I don't want to feel it at all.
and I don't want to feel it at all.
I think it's going to feel awful.
I think it's going to feel awful. I'm
And
convinced it's going to feel awful.
yeah, it may feel awful.
And you know what? It may feel awful,
And I'll still be okay.
and I'll still be okay.
Top of the head. I don't want to feel this.
I do not want to feel this.
Eyebrow. I'm glad I'm numb.
I'm glad I'm numb,
Side of the eye. And I want to have freedom here.
and I really want to have freedom here.
End of the eye. What if I let myself feel it for 5 seconds?
What if I let myself feel it for 5 seconds?
Under the nose. How do I feel it if I'm numb?
How do I feel it if I'm numb?
Chin. Oh, if I don't put food in my mouth, I'll probably feel it.
Oh, if I don't put food in my mouth right now, I will probably feel it.
Collarbone. I can wait 5 seconds.
I can wait 5 seconds.
Under there. What if I just waited and was curious?
What if I just waited and was curious?
Top of the head. And then I can eat if I need to.
And then I can eat if I need to.
Take a nice deep breath. The thing is, the compulsion for food, like sometimes the more I don't want to feel something, the more I want to put any helpful food in my mouth right away. So if you can, and it takes practice, it's like, I know I use this analogy a lot, but I think it's very, very similar. When I came back from the hospital a couple of years ago, I could not lift a 2-pound weight. And it was so frustrating. I literally had the trainer help me lift it. And I'm like, I'm never going to get there. But even just the trying with help, the next day it was a little easier. And the next day it was a little easier. And the next week I was on the 5-pound weight by myself. Yeah. So even if it feels like our brain thinks often, oh, this is hard, I'm going to be bad at it, I should run away. If you can just stick with it and just 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, I'm going to walk around the room for a minute. I'm going to walk around the block for a minute. Like, we build up that resilience. It doesn't mean we won't sometimes say, hey, food is the right choice tonight. It's saying that the more resilience you build up, you have a little bigger gap in there. And the bigger the gap, the more your cognitive brain can go in and help you with this.
Yeah. And someone asked about tapping in the presence of other people. I often don't like if I was sitting around a Thanksgiving table and I was feeling, uncomfortable for any reason, I probably wouldn't start tapping. I
Mm-hmm.
might say, "Oop, I forgot to wash my hands,"
Mm-hmm.
and go off and wash my hands and tap for a few minutes, a
Yeah.
minute or two in the bathroom to get some privacy. Um, and that's a way of maintaining your inner privacy. It's great if you have family and other people that you can tap with. That's
And Rick and I
wonderful.
will just start tapping in the middle of whatever.
Yeah.
And I think just we can just soothe ourselves and breathe and be with the sensation too. We don't have to necessarily start tapping in the middle of a board meeting or whatever. Um,
Yeah, and sometimes tapping underneath the table or
exactly.
rubbing the fingertips.
Yeah.
Um, Also, Kathy is really reminding us being with the feeling
Don't try to
is,
change it. We try to push it and make it be different. Just like be with it.
the essence of tapping is that I have this going on and it's okay. That
Mhm.
this is happening for me and it's okay. It's I accept myself is another way of saying it's okay.
Well, I think
There's
it's
not
really
something I
useful
have to
too.
push
When
myself.
we fight against a feeling, we kind of lock it in place.
Hmm.
Versus, I love saying, "Hey, like when I want to eat, and there's a part of me that's angry at myself for wanting to eat something. I'm like, hey, that was a really smart way. Like I try to look at it from that other side's perspective. I'm like, hey, I that is so cool that you figured out how to survive your childhood. Like that's really cool. And how about we try to figure out some other things besides just this one go-to?
Hmm.
So I think that's useful. And now you asked about set point weight. I'm not an expert on that at all, but I have found that I think our body feels safer. It's like, okay, at this point, I'm making it through. I'm safe, and maybe there's a resistance to that. Um, and maybe as we release fears, and we also like, I've been doing more movement because that's what's right for my body, and I noticed my weight has changed a little bit. So like, I'm not trying to do something about my weight per se, but I'm trying to be like, hey, my body does better if it has a few less carbs and a few more vegetables. So I'm going to try to do that. My body does better if I walk around the block a few times. Or I have an Apple Watch and I've been doing we have a challenge where you can do so much exercise a day. And it really just those gentle little things like I'm going to try to walk for 30 minutes a day really has helped my body feel more vital and alive. And that
Yeah.
feels good to me. But I think that when we're trying to eat our emotions, that's super like any like, oh, I'll feel bad tomorrow is not important because we're just trying to get through right now. And the more we can soothe ourselves and calm ourselves and build up the resiliency of being with those feelings, the less compulsive it will feel and the more choice we have. And even if it's only every other time we're choosing to be a little more healthy or a little, I'm not going to eat the piles of mashed potatoes with lots of butter, or maybe I'll have, some veggies with that, or whatever it is that is right for your body. We're not trying to tell you what you should do with your body. We want you to have the freedom to choose it, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
I want to just mention also about cycles. Like, um, we humans have cycles. Some humans have cycles that are really obvious, like a menstrual cycle.
Mm-hmm.
I have a full moon cycle. When the tide is high, I will start feeling grief. It just like it happens. It's like the high tide in the bay, reaching up into the reeds a little further. You can also look at what might be the emotion. Like there can be just a straight biology that when I'm feeling this in my cycle, I want this and it gives me comfort.
Mm-hmm.
If you're really comfortable with that, it feels in balance, it feels part of your well being, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
If you're noticing that there's that, like, oh, yeah, it's helping, and there's really a downside also in well being, um, that's when we invite you to take the response of, well, what emotion might I be eating at that? What sensation, what feeling? And those will arise. if you were able to be with the feeling a
Mhm.
little bit more.
Yeah, and I'd like to go back to my when we're being with the feelings. I like to go back to the gym analogy because it ties in, and I'm a geek that way. Um, if you're going to the gym for the first time, you want to kind of push yourself a little bit. Like, I'm going to be with this feeling for however many seconds. I'm going to lift this pound weight. But you don't want to re traumatize yourself. You don't want to tear muscles or make yourself so sore you're afraid to approach it again. You want to be successful at it. So, trying for short periods of time and building up a confidence and praising yourself. Hey, I did 5 seconds. That's really cool. As I eat the donut, but at least I did 5 seconds first. I am really cool. Versus you stupid person, you haven't eaten. You didn't do it right. Like when we go to when we're building up this resiliency, it's okay to start with smaller things and prove to ourselves that we're successful. But we don't want to be lifting the 2 pound weight for 5 years because we've gotten comfortable with that. We kind of want to just always just be a little uncomfortable, but not so uncomfortable we're hurting ourselves, if that helps. Because I think a lot of us are overachievers and we're like, I'm going to do it all right now. I'm going to feel all that emotion. And we're like, I'm all burnt out. I don't want to do anymore. And this is a marathon. This is like humans have emotions. Mel had a boss from hell. And yes, I love, you can tap a lot of the finger points. I would just lace my fingers under the table, or I would rub the karate chop point and the nine gamut point at the same time. I just under the table, or it just looks like you're kind of fidgeting with your hands. You can also just like, you can kind of rub the spots or just hold them. Like, there's a lot of ways you can do it. Like, I'm really interested in what you're saying, but I'm actually holding a tapping point and trying not to kill you. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, there's different ways we can comfort ourselves. And I think the more choice we have, the better we feel, more empowered we feel about life. Like, if I only have one tool, if I have a hammer and that's my only tool, I'm afraid to build a house. I'm going to stay in the house I have, and I might move paintings around and maybe repair a wall once in a while, but there's nothing else I dare do. Versus if I have a hammer and a saw and a screwdriver and all these other things, I'm like, I have the choices in my life. So if we only have food as our hammer, we're constantly bashing down our emotions.
Mhm.
Versus we're like, oh, I can pause, I can be with this, I can breathe, I can tap, I can tell a friend, I can choose to just be an adult for a moment and decide what's right for me. So that's what we want for you, to just have all the tools in your tool belt and lots of freedom for this.
This is the this is a continuation of a conversation that is so worth having.
Mhm.
We're looking at ourselves with more compassion, the reactions that we've developed as a way to survive as children, and how as adults we can introduce more freedom of response, more and more freedom of response,
Mhm.
more resiliency, not because we're bad people, because we're in life in a human body that needs food, and it also needs to manage our energy in a way that supports our well-being. And that's an evolving journey. It's an inner ecosystem that's a part of an outer world. Um, we're going to have a follow-up set of questions because we really want to, after this is settled for you, to get some additional feedback. So watch your email, or you'll see a link below the replay once that's available. We would like your specific feedback if it's a yes for you. We are wanting not just around eating, but about the whole emotional world, to look at where are we at the edge where we really want to respond in a way that feels better, more supportive for ourselves and for our world, and we're still in reaction. That's important. And so the questions that we'll be asking are mostly around the subject of eating to get your feedback. And then we're going to be taking this conversation further.
Yeah. I really appreciate all of you coming in and having the courage to look at this because it's scary. Our brain is like, don't, I think that there's a fear we're going to lose the hammer. We're going to lose that tool that's worked so well for us.
Yeah.
And that's what we're not trying to take it away. We're not trying to make you hate any food or never turn to a food. It's just like, hey, if I can be more empowered about this, if it can be a rational adult choice versus a reaction, that I think that feels really good for most people. So thank you for exploring this with us. And Rick, thanks for all you shared.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you all. We're at supportthrivingnow.com. Kathy can be reached at Kathy at theintimacydojo.com as well. And yeah, our email is open and we look forward to your feedback. Thanks so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.